Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Think of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and remember God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers. What we think and the tools that we create with. Our thoughts are prayers. This is what God resonates with. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of mindfulness, and remember God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of mindfulness, and remember God is always there. And every thought is a prayer.
Please join me in prayer. We know that there is one perfect life that permeates and fills all of creation. And we know that that perfect life is God. That life belongs to each and every one of us here, each and every one within the sound of my voice, each and every one spread throughout creation, wherever they may be. We are so glad to come together to celebrate creativity, that gift from the divine that empowers us to express in the world in the unique ways that only each and every one of us can. And in the ways that we can as a community that comes together in the knowledge that none of us is as smart as all of us. We know that together we bring a new energy as a community to the city of Aurora, to the state of Colorado, to the world as we know it. We know that everything that takes place here today will be perfect in every way. And we give thanks for all those who've come together to make this service possible, for sharing their love, light, and their time and their talent to bring a message of hope, love, and empowerment. We know that Spirit will speak through our Reverend Lauren to ignite that creative spark inside of each and every one of us. And we will spend time later today igniting that spark, bringing in more things that will empower us to express as the divine would have us express. I give thanks for every unique and beautiful expression of the divine in this space with me here today, for everyone in the sound of my voice, and for everyone everywhere, knowing that each and every one are made in the image of God. I release these words in the divine law where they're already done in the universal mind by a power that knows how to mold, make, shape, and create all the good there is, everywhere, all the time. I let this go, I let it be, and together we affirm, and so it is. Thank you, Karen. As always, beautiful music, a beautiful voice. And so now let me try to do my bit to be inspirational. I've got a couple of quotes here. I've got 3. The first is from Lisa Rankin, who wrote a beautiful book called Mind Over Medicine, if you haven't had a chance to read that. I think we've got a copy in the library. We had one. It may be gone. Creativity only heals you if you make time to prioritize it. From Avery Carter, your inner child holds the key to your most authentic dreams and desires. Working with your inner child restores creativity, playfulness, and trust. All of the critical energies for manifestation. And from our founder, the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes, the infinite speaks not in the noise of the world, but in the stillness within. In silence, we hear the voice of our own divinity. Here we're treated again. We get a treat. My friend Lauren Martin, Reverend Lauren Martin. Oh, I do love it when she comes back, and I'm beginning to wonder if the word no is in her vocabulary. Every time I ask her to do something for New Dawn, here she is. It's just wonderful in a way. I just hope that it doesn't go too far. It took me years, and I'm still learning how to say no. And people were trying to teach me that no is actually a full sentence. We can discuss that because that's an interesting topic. But, Lauren is probably going to be stepping into a new and different way to express. We've been praying for that opportunity and ways for that. We know all the wonderful work you do here at Centers for Spiritual Living. We know that you're still doing the stuff with the educational department to create study guides for the spiritual circles, and that you're chairperson of the Global Heart of Peace, just helping people move through trauma. That takes a lot because what is required of us up front is to actually own our own trauma. Mm-hmm. So that's not an easy thing to do. And you do it marvelously and just make people comfortable. And so that's truly wonderful, and it's truly you being you. So enough of me. They want more of you. They put up with me all the time.
So, I don't know about you, but when I first came to this teaching and they're like, your words create your reality, this is pretty much how I felt. Really? Do I have to? Oh no, this is not a good thing. Because it's scary. It's scary when we tell people that they have the power to do whatever they want. They can create their reality. Especially when we look at our reality and it's not exactly what we want. And then we have that wonderful question that I bring up so many times that I hate so much of, what was your consciousness that created this? And that's the other thing that comes up with this. And so we also have, this was my least favorite, by the way. Keep track of everything you think and say. Now, I don't know about you, but that's thousands of words that are going through my head and coming out my mouth all day long. That's a full-time job. I don't have time for that. And then on top of that, God and the universe are like Santa Claus. They listen all the time. So we like to think that, I'm going to go sit down, I'm going to pray, I'm going to put my words together in this nice little organized fashion. It's exactly what I want. It's perfect. It's beautiful. That's the only time God's listening, because I say, hey, God, I'm talking to you now. Yeah, no. Always listening. So what we put our energy on expands, which is why we say that worrying is praying for what we don't want. And I'm like a world-class worrier. I don't know about you guys. I come from the East Coast. It's kind of ingrained in our culture. So it's one of those things where all of those things made me want to run for the hills and scream. So today, I'm assuming I'm not the only person who had that feeling. So I'm going to talk about how to move from eek to empowered. Okay? Now, you see these wonderful little R's floating around? You'll notice there's 5 of them. So I'm going to give you 5 steps. I know that sounds like a lot. I know it really does, but it's not. They build on each other, and they all relate to each other, so it won't be a lot to do, but it will help you feel more empowered by knowing how to actually create what you want in your life instead of just listen to your words or think about your consciousness level or let's not worry or let's not think that way or let's be more positive because, one of those other fun things that the subconscious and the universe, the creative medium, all have in common is they don't really understand the word no. So a lot of us are doing that, I don't want this. And then we just keep getting that. So I don't want any more stress. And all we get is more stress because the universe hears, oh, she wants more stress. Okay, here you go, boom. And then we're sitting there going, I just said I don't want stress. So we're going to work on ways to be in more control without stressing ourselves out. The first thing we're going to do is remember our divinity. So it is really easy for us to think about everybody else as divine and seeing the God in everybody else. And when we come back to ourselves, sometimes it's a little bit trickier. Sometimes we're raised to not be too prideful or to be too boastful. And we're taught that we should be a little bit more humble. And we forget that we are divine. So we talk to ourselves in really, really, really horrible ways. And so here's the thing. If we don't believe that we deserve things, then we don't get them. So the first step I want every single person in here to do is remove the word deserve from your vocabulary. You are no longer allowed to use that word because you don't have to earn anything. You are worthy just because you exist. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be better than the next person. In fact, comparison is the thief of joy. So when we do that, we're just setting ourselves up to be miserable because we'll always find somebody who has more than us. We'll always find somebody who's happier than us. We'll always find somebody who has a red car when we want a red car. Yet, we're just as deserving as they are. We are worthy just by being. I was having some dark times for the last few weeks. And one of the things I realized is the way I talk to myself is horrible. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who does that. And I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, would I talk to God that way? So if I'm a divine being, why am I talking to myself that way? We always say, would you talk to your friends and your family like that? Well, no, I wouldn't, but they're different people, and there's different rules for different people, and there's all kinds of excuses. But if we realize that we are divine, and we wouldn't talk to the divine that way, then we can work on talking to ourselves a lot better. And the other thing is, for all of those who are like me, who have a fear of becoming narcissistic, which I've literally had people tell me, if you're afraid of becoming narcissistic, you are not going to be narcissistic because narcissists never think that way. So that's a first good sign. The second is, when we are really confident, do you know what that means? That means we're in alignment with our true selves, with our authentic self, with our soul, with our heart. That's where confidence comes from. Egotistical, that comes from being in your ego mind, being in the humanity, being in the situational, in the human. And so many of us, we meet people who are egotistical, and we're like, God, that person's really phony. They think they're confident, but they're not, because they don't believe it, because they're not in alignment with the truth of who they are. When we get into an alignment of who we are and the truth of who we are, we understand what we want. And it's so much easier to create the world that we want if we actually understand what we want and are in alignment with our soul and are confident in our worth in getting it. So, next time we're thinking, we're going to use this acronym. See? Think. We are going to ask ourselves, is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it needed? And is it kind? If your words to yourself or to anybody else about yourself don't fit this, shut up. And I am using those words specifically because, really, that ego part kind of needs the nastiness every once in a while and needs to hear shut up once in a while. And it's okay to say shut up to your ego. It's okay to say shut up to your critic. It's okay to say shut up to the voices in your head that aren't serving you anymore when you want to get yourself into a place where you are ready to receive. So there's a funny story that goes with this image, so I'm going to start with that. You guys all know that I have been single for a long time. And I'm always talking about how I want a relationship and I want more and I want to know what it feels like to be in love, all those kind of things, right? So, a long time ago, I was walking down the street with my bestie, and we were waiting for the light to change on one side of the street. On the other side of the street was a dog that was so cute. And I was like, oh, look at the cute dog. And I'm talking to the dog, and I'm like waving at the dog, and I'm noticing the dog. And we crossed the street, and it's all I could do not to go up to the dog and hug the dog and pet the dog and scratch on the dog and love on the dog. And we get across the street, and my bestie turns to me, and she goes, do you know the guy was checking you out? My response was, what guy? Literally did not see the guy at all. The funny part is, I took my mom shopping the other day, like 3 days ago. I had already put these slides in, and I'm in the grocery store, and there's another dog. And this dog had the most beautiful eyes. They were so blue, they were almost white, really pretty. And she was so fluffy and so cute. I just wanted to snuggle on her. I'm like, oh, aren't you a pretty dog? And I start talking to the dog. And this time, the guy comes up to me and starts talking to me. And I'm like, oh, there's a guy attached. So I'm like, okay, well, there's progress here. At least I noticed this time there's a guy attached to the dog. Now, yes, he did have to come and talk to me. And yes, I am a bit of a cave woman that needs to be hit over the head with one of those wonderful, what do you call those, clubs, and dragged back to be able to understand that somebody is interested. But it's progress. So maybe I'm a little bit more ready to receive at this point. We don't know yet because we haven't manifested this yet, but, I'll take progress. That's good. The thing is, we can talk about what we want for years and decades, and it feels ad nauseum sometimes, and people will be like, well, when are you going to do it? The thing is, if we're not ready to receive it, the universe can't give it to you. And I can tell you this, when you are ready to receive, it's very much like the idea of don't think about blue cars, and you go outside and all you see is blue cars. When you are ready to receive, all you are going to see are the examples of those things. So you might need to actually do some work with this one. They say if you want to have a partner in your life, clear out a drawer. If you want to, attract a new job, leave your old one. If you want a new car, don't total it, but start shopping for one. Make room in your life for what you want to receive And then come from that place of worthiness and say, I'm ready to receive this. And be open to what the universe has to offer you, because I can almost guarantee you what you're thinking and what the universe has in mind are not going to be the same thing, because we think with a little mind, and the universe has a really, 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 really big mind, and they can think of some amazing things for us. So if we are open and ready and able to receive, and we are willing to receive more than what our little brain wants to think, as in other words, we're living in our divinity, it's going to be delivered amazingly more than we can think. So your next step is to remember, responsibility isn't a 4-letter word. I know that feels like a swear word. I know it does. I know that it's one of those things that we don't want to think about. We don't want to be responsible, because a lot of us get into our heads about responsibility and blame being the same energy, and they're not. So when somebody is asking us that really horrible question of, well, what was your level of consciousness that created this? They're asking you to take responsibility, and it sounds like they're blaming you. So we're going to reframe things a little bit. And we're going to look at our thoughts from a responsibility point of view. And we are going to celebrate being responsible. So I know, I'm right there with you. Don't worry, I'll get there. I am not a big fan of this either. This is what I had to do to heal for me when I left my ex, because I went into that trap of blaming myself and shaming myself for being in an abusive relationship. It was my fault. I let it happen. I let that situation be. The thing is, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. And that's something we have to remind ourselves. The other thing that comes with responsibility that is overwhelming but really good is we're always at choice. So here's the thing. If we accept that our choice brought us to this situation, in other words, we accept responsibility for it, then we can look at this situation and be like, well, I don't like that. But I learned I don't like that. So now I can do something different and I can choose again. Because if you don't like something, wait 5 seconds, another choice will come. We are always at choice. But when we bring into this energy of responsibility and we look at things as a gift instead of a painful lesson, then we have that energy to co-create. Then we're able to be open to co-creating with the universe, and we're able to decide more of what we want in our life. And we're able to be like, all right, I really don't like that I lost my job, but, I like some of these lessons that I'm getting with my free time. And I like some of the choices that I'm getting to make now with some of the things that I get to do. So I'm responsible for my time. I'm responsible for how I react to these things. I have power. But it's guided, supported, and funded power. The universe isn't going to drop you on your head and leave you in a puddle crying. It's not. It may feel like that, because a lot of times we fail spectacularly. We just need to remember, failing is actually a first attempt in learning. So we aren't actually failing. We are learning. We are growing. We are expanding. We are figuring out what we like. Because 99% of the time, we go out into the world and we're like, I want to create this. I want this. And we don't realize either that's not what we want, that's a very shrunk version of what we want, or that is something that we absolutely want, but we're growing out of. So we need to be able to be flexible. We need to be able to be responsible for our choices, and we need to be able to see the lessons as gifts. And please don't get me wrong. I do realize when things hit the fan that in that moment we are not going to see the gift. And in that moment, if you want to throw a fit like a 2-year-old who has hopped up on sugar and hasn't had a nap, then please do. You have a right to that. But then pick yourself up and say, okay, I got that out of the way. Now I have my brain back, and I can think about what I want. Because sometimes we just need to pitch a fit, and it's okay. Because we are still responsible. Now, I'm going to suggest that we recognize patterns instead of listen to every single word that comes out of our mouths. Because for most of us, we have a lot of thoughts going through our mind. We have a lot of words that we say. But we also have patterns in them. So one of the things that I realized recently when I was having really, really negative thoughts, it went really dark. It went dark enough that my cat, who doesn't normally do anything to me, she was sitting above me on the back of the couch, and all of a sudden I felt paws on my shoulder. And I looked over, and she stared at me in the eyes, and she just like locked eyes with me. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're reminding me I have a purpose. Now, granted, in her mind, my purpose is to make sure she's fed, watered, her litter box is clean, she has all the toys she wants, and gets pets when she wants. That to her is enough for my whole existence. But it was enough to also make me sit down and stop for a second and be like, why am I having these thoughts? Am I really in a situation that's this bad? No. And I can almost guarantee you most of the time our situations that we get into these really negative thoughts about aren't that bad. There are some exceptions to the rule, of course, but most of the time, they're not that bad. The thing is, we need to stop and do an inventory. I realized that when I'm bored, I go back into old patterns and old routines. So when I'm bored, all my negative thoughts come flooding back because that's what my brain's used to doing, and that's where its comfort zone is, so it's just going to keep doing that. So now the first thing I do is I ask myself, am I bored? And if I'm bored, do something. So one of the things that I want to encourage is, let's take a look at some patterns. Let's ask ourselves, am I bored? Am I hungry? Am I tired? There is nothing saying that as adults we can't take a nap, people. Naps are wonderful things. They're not just for kids. So sometimes we just need a nap and everything comes out so much clearer. Sometimes we just need to eat or drink something, or get up and move to a different room, or do something differently. The other thing that I would take a look at is there a certain time of day, certain group of people, certain event that makes me go into a certain place? Because that may not be where you're the best creative person. That may not be the best use of your energy. That may not be the best place for you. So if we start to see patterns, we can start recognizing our thoughts a little bit better and start thinking in the more creative way and co-creating what we want instead of letting the habits just dictate our lives. Because when we let our habits dictate our lives, we're giving up our choice. And that's never fun. And yet, anybody who is in survival mode, please be patient with yourself. If you are in a place where you need to make sure that you are fed, where you are sheltered, where your basic needs are met, and all you can do is survive, great. You're doing wonderfully doing that. When we're working to get out of survival mode, when we're out of the place where all of our basic needs are met and our brain is just in that same pattern, that's when we need to actually start to be noticing the patterns, recognizing the patterns. So get yourself safe first. Then we can worry about our thoughts. And then the last thing is repetition for the win. So I'm going to break this down into two sections for you. So those of us who have spicy brains, ignore me for a few minutes because this will not help you. Those of us who have normal brains, this is your stuff. Repetition is great for you guys. You guys love repetition. It works. It helps your brain. This is why affirmations work for so many people. Mantras, doing the same thing over and over again. It takes 30 days to make a new habit. And you guys are the ones who are able to do this. You're able to do the same thing for 30 days in a row and get the habit to happen. Great. That's awesome. So for you guys, when you have a negative thought, I'm going to challenge you to have 2 positive afterwards. Now there's a couple benefits to this, okay? First of all, you are replacing the negative thought with something. So, because nature abhors a vacuum, your brain is no different. It does not like to be sitting there with nothing to think or nothing to do if you've been normally thinking one certain pattern. So, if you're thinking this negative pattern consistently and you want to change it, we want to replace it with something. So, replace it with 2 positive things that you actually believe about yourself. Please do not pick something that is so astronomically hard to believe that your brain will sit there and go, no, I don't think so. Because we're not here to start an argument with ourselves. We're here to change our patterns of thinking, okay? The other thing this does is, a lot of us have lazy brains. I think most of us have lazy brains. At some point, our brain is going to get tired of having to think of 2 things to replace every negative thing, because that's a lot of thinking. And a lot of us don't want to do the work. So in either way, we are fixing our negative thinking pattern. So do it. Okay, all my spicy brain people, now it's your turn. So yes, we also have to do the same things, but we're going to add some variety in there. So what I want everybody who's spicy brain to do is to just pick one thing we want to change. Just one. We're just going to focus on manifesting one thing. We're just going to focus on co-creating one thing with the universe today. And each day, we are going to do something that helps us focus on that. So today, I might say an affirmation. Tomorrow, I might sing a song. The next day, I might write a poem. The next day, I might make it into an interpretive dance. It doesn't matter what activity you're doing. What matters is that we have something in our mind that is allowing us to co-create what we want. 30. You still have the same brain, sorry. You still have the 30-day pattern brain. It just works differently. But that was a really good question. So, I'm going to show you right now my example. So this is what we're making today. We're making magnets. We're making manifestation magnets. And so I made this one last week when I was in a really, really dark spot and I was getting really, really negative because I haven't had an interview since February. And so I was like, I'm not going to have an interview. I'm going to run out of unemployment. I'm going to not have any money. Everything's coming to an end. I'm going to freak out. I'm spicy-brained. So me doing the affirmations every day isn't going to work. So I put this on my refrigerator, and I'm like, it's not going to work. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because I'm doing the class. I'm going to try it. So I put it on my refrigerator. And if you notice, there's a total of 5 words on this. It says, I manifest my perfect job, for those of it in the back who can't see it. 5 words. That means when I walk by it, I can chunk that into my brain every time I walk by it. So what this did for me was it changed how I was thinking, because this got into the back of my mind, even though I wasn't focusing on it. So it's in the back of my mind as I'm doing my everyday thing. So I apply for a job that I really want, right? And this is in the back of my mind. I get up, I go get stuff in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe I will have my friend write a recommendation to this person, just reach out on IM because she works with them. She doesn't know them, but she can write a recommendation. That's good. So I did that. Wouldn't have thought of doing that before. Never did that on any of the job applications before. Then I decided, okay, well, maybe I should just reach out to this person, this hiring manager on LinkedIn, and make a request to link with them. Never did that before because that was scary. That was like really scary. I'm like, I don't know this person. Why would they even like link with me? This is like, just shut up and do it. Okay, did it. She accepted my link. So next day, I was talking to somebody that night. I'm like, maybe I should just send a little note to her. Because I'm like, I'm hearing this little instinct in my brain. And I'm like, no, that's scary. What do I say? How do I say this? I'm going to sound like an idiot. Well, I'm going to sound like I'm begging for a job. I don't know why I'm doing this. So I got up, and I'm like, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to send her a note. And then I'm listening to my friends telling me that they're getting jobs and they're getting interviews. And I'm sitting there panicking and panicking and panicking. And Friday, all of a sudden, I get a request from this person for an interview. So, if nothing else, I broke my long trend of no interviews, but I was using those 5 steps because I realized I was worthy of a job without having to be anything other than I am. I was ready to receive the job because I put myself out there and I did the work to show I'm open to receive this job. I recognized my patterns. I took responsibility for my actions and did something myself. I asked my friend to help me out, and then I went and did something myself, which I would not normally do. I recognized the patterns of my habits of not actually doing anything when I put in a job application except for sitting on my thumbs and hoping. And then I did repetition. I did the spicy brain version of repetition. Each day, I did something different to help push that forward. And in fact, my friend sent me a copy of the IM conversation that she had with this hiring manager, who thanked her, apologized that it took her so long to get back because, end of month, sales, it's crazy. We all know that. So that's not a big deal. But she's like, we don't get recommendations very often, so I take that seriously. So here I was thinking this interview was like, oh, she's just checking a box. And my friend shared that with me, and I'm like, oh, this is an actual chance. So these things work. Even if it seems like a lot because it's 5, and I know 5 is more, they say keep it to like 3, but it works. It doesn't have to be perfect. You are never needed to be perfect. Just consistent. And I know that's hard for our spicy brain people, so we have to find our own version of consistency, and we do that. We just need to really tell the universe what we want to co-create. And we need to be very positive about it. We need to be open to receive it. And we get everything we want. Because even though there's so many people out there who want us to believe that we live in a limiting universe, it is an abundant universe. It is only limited by our brains. So don't let your brain limit anything for you. Allow that abundance in. All right, so let's go ahead and take a time to pray. Just breathe into this energy, into the idea of co-creation, into the knowledge that we are all connected, we are all one, we are all God. Everything is God. Everything is that creative medium. Everything is that abundance energy. And as we step into that and know that we are connected through it, we help each other grow, expand, and see the amazing things we can create in our lives. We allow in that creativity. We allow that to flow through, in, around, from, towards us. It's always around us. We co-create our universe in a way that is abundant, filled with love, filled with prosperity, filled with joy, filled with health, filled with money, filled with wisdom. Whatever we want to create, we do with joy and gratitude and excitement. Where we put our energy expands, so we put it into creating what we want into a beautiful, abundant world, knowing that we are blessed to be able to be part of that energy. So it is with gratitude And I say that we are grateful that we are able to create this world. We are able to manifest anything that we want. We are able to bring this world to ourselves, to our friends, to our family. We are able to share all of this abundance. And as we tap into that, I'm going to release these words because they are true. They are done. They are perfect. And they are unfolding with abundance for all. And so it is.
You play the music in my life. You play the music in my life. You bring beauty to each song I sing. You make it bright with the color that you bring to the music in my life. You play the music in my soul. Sweet music in my soul. Fill it up, you make it whole. Without you there, there'd be a story half told in the music in my soul. You play the music in my heart. It's like the rhythm and rhyme. As soon as you start, you make it sound like sweet harmony. Whenever you play the music in my heart. You play the music in all of our lives. Yes, you do. You play sweet music in our lives. Don't forget your divinity. Don't forget that you are worthy. Don't forget to open your heart and be ready to receive. That's what God means about collaborating power in you and me.